Tesla earnings, top forecast. Musk vows 50% annual growth rate. Margins narrow on price cuts. Tesla aims to build 1.8 million cars this year, but warns of challenges. Electric car maker reports record quarterly revenue, but acknowledges uncertain macroeconomic environment. Tesla earnings beat expectations on shrinking margins. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Tesla earnings are out, and I want to give you a realistic and honest take on these things and get your thoughts as well. So let's start here. We read through some of the headlines already, and you can see here's another one. Tesla delivers, but record profit isn't everything. And that is essentially the story here is that, guys, I really get it, right? So if you read some headlines, they'll say, oh my God, Tesla's doing awesome. Musk is promising 50% growth, these kind of things. However, you got to look at the numbers for yourself. So here, take a look at this one. This is a chart. This is Tesla's operating earnings, right? So they hit a record 3.9 billion. But the question is, do you think they're going to keep growing from here, or do you think it has peaked? One of the things that gets a lot of people that don't understand the market, now hopefully can understand it pretty simply, is that yes, they have grown in the past. 100%. Tesla has grown in the past, right? In the past. But will that continue? And I want you to think about something really clearly. If you make one car the first year, and then you suddenly make two cars, oh my God, you're like doubling. And then you make 4 cars the next year, oh my God, you're doubling again. And then you make 8 cars the next year, oh my God, you're still doubling. And then you make 16 cars and you're still doubling, right? Like in your early years of growth, you can grow at insane rates. However, the bigger that you get, right? So for example, they're saying they want to do 1.8 million cars. To say double again to like say a 3.6 is really, really tough. So the bigger the company gets, the growth will slow, right? I understand the pumpers will tell you that it's all about that 50% growth rate, but I want you to understand this as well. This is really important. They may grow, right? They may grow in terms of deliveries or production, but does not mean that they will grow 50% in terms of their earnings because your costs are going up, your margins are shrinking. Okay, I want to make sure that's really clear. Growth and your actual earnings are two different things. If you take a look at some of the more details, we'll take a look at this again. Tesla price cuts have created uncertainty around Tesla's profit margins. For 2022, Tesla generated gross profit margins of about 26% from its automotive business. For the full year 2023, after price cuts, automotive gross profit margins projections should fall anywhere from 17 to 22%. So remember, the earnings that we got out that came out today does not include the recent price cuts. And so that's going to eat into their margins, which eats into their profit. And we don't know exactly what that's going to shake out to be, right? So this is just one projection that the margins could go from essentially 26% to 17 to 22%. Now, in the past, Tesla's margins were more like a 30% kind of thing. So their margins have been coming down. That's really important to understand. Because like, again, I get it. The pumpers will tell you 50% growth rate, 50% growth rate, these kind of things, but that does not equal earnings, right? I hope you guys understand that. Your margins are really important. Also too, we'll take a look at this. You read more headlines. That's why I said it depends on who you ask. Tesla posts record quarterly profit amid challenges, offers sunny outlook, right? And one thing is that if you're a pumper, you will take everything that Elon Musk says at face value. I myself don't. And this is something that for any CEO, not just Elon Musk, right? Yes, you do listen to what the CEO stuff says, but the CEO is always going to tell you the same thing, that everything's rosy and everything's going to be great. That's a pretty typical thing. CEOs want to make shareholders more happy, right? Another headline, Tesla beats record revenue and beats on earnings. Now, I want you guys to understand this concept as well. We talked about this before yesterday with Microsoft, but I want to make sure it's clear with Tesla. Generally speaking, Wall Street will project what they think a company will do, right? They'll project, okay, I think this is going to be how many deliveries you're going to have. I think this is how much you're going to make in profit / earnings, right? They're projecting it. And you can beat expectations, and that would be a beat, or you can miss expectations. The thing is for something like Tesla is that expectations have always been ludicrously high in the past, and it's always also been a meme stock, so that the stock has been largely overvalued. Now, expectations have started to come down, and yes, they did beat expectations, but going into the future, this is how stocks are priced. You're sort of pricing in, okay, how much money are you going to make in the future? And this is sort of where you have to look at the stock and say, okay, you're trading at like a 33 PE or 40 PE or 50 PE, etc. And a good rule of thumb is you want your earnings growth to be greater than your PE. So for example, I was just looking at Google Finance just to take a look quickly. I think Tesla's trading at like a PE, this is price to earnings, of like around a 44, something like that, right? And so the question would be, okay, do you expect Tesla's earnings to be growing, say, 50% a year? Elon Musk is saying that's your growth rate, but that's not your earnings rate. That's like your production or delivering. It's actually really interesting. A couple of the articles were mentioning that in the earnings call, Elon Musk and the team were not clear when they were saying 50% growth rate. Is that your deliveries or is that your production, right? There's two different things. They just weren't clear. They just said, oh, growth rate, growth rate. But again, growth rate does not mean your earnings are going up by 50% a year or your profits are growing up by 50% a year. I got to make this really clear because a lot of people don't understand this. Because again, it's all about margins, right? You got to make something out of profit. Now, this is an interesting one as well. A lot of people like to say that Tesla is more than a car company. This is a chart for yourself. So this shows where Tesla's revenue comes from. The blue is automotive, your yellow is your energy generation and storage, and then your black is services and other. So you can see here the vast majority of their revenue comes from cars. I'm not just making random stuff up. And so yes, the Tesla does do other things, but it's a very small part of their company at the moment. One of the things that it's always been the case is with Tesla is they're trading at a much higher valuation, meaning that people value the company more than other car companies, which is pretty crazy considering that it is a car company. The idea, though, is that people think they're going to grow forever. However, I do believe in other car companies that there will be competition. I think my personal opinion is that the Toyota Prius, the new one, is going to be a really hot seller. I think Hyundai, when Kia, right, the Korean car market is getting in the game, they're going to be good. And I think the Honda, when they're doing a partnership with Sony, I think those are going to be pretty good as well, let alone like a BMW, which is a nice car. I've actually test driven the Polestar for myself, which is a good car. I think Rivian is a pretty good one. There's a lot of competition out there. So, it's not that I'm saying Tesla's a bad company. The company is actually pretty good. They make money. It's just always been priced too high. That's the thing, because they're essentially pricing it to have crazy amounts of growth. But I am reading the headlines with you guys, looking at numbers for ourselves. There's another one. Tesla seeks rapid output boost as profit beats estimates. Car maker says it's looking to accelerate cost reductions. Shares reaction has muted in extended New York trading, right? So yes, they beat, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's spectacular news, because the other things too, obviously you have the extracurricular activities, the Elon Musk things as well. Let's take a look at some more stuff here. This is an interesting one. So this is sort of like, where's their production going? And they're dividing it into different groups. So you have your Shanghai, your California, your Texas, and your Germany. You guys can see the production yourself. And again, I think they were saying they're going to try to go for a 1.8 million this year. But it's going to be tough to, grow by crazy amounts in the future. Now, some people would make the case, and I understand this, when China opens up again, maybe finally they can produce, etc. There was some news recently that the Chinese government was cracking down on the Shanghai plant. It had to do with Starlink and that kind of stuff. So this is sort of why you don't ever see Elon Musk say bad things about China or the Chinese government, even though he's supposed to be a free speech guy. and I make joke, because it's like sometimes the pumpers live in fantasy land. He just plays the game, and what he says on surface is to appease his fans, essentially, but it's not necessarily true. And that's something that's been a lot with Musk. The stuff that he says is not always necessarily true. This is an interesting one, a really interesting one. Pay attention to this. So this is regulatory credits. I want to read it with you guys because I want you to understand the details of this one. It's really interesting. So it says, income from the sale of regulatory credits used by other automakers to offset greenhouse gas emissions came to 467 million, up from 286 million in the prior quarter and 314 million a year ago. Tesla has said it expects such revenue to shrink over time as competitors launch more EVs to comply with emissions regulations and meet the growing demand. So it's interesting. So this regulatory credit thing, it's pretty big money, right? 467 million. They get money from this, but evidently, as this goes in the future, they won't make so much money because other car companies will be able to just do it themselves. So just keep an eye on this thing. When you talk about competition, it's not just eating into Tesla's market share, but also eating into their regulatory credit profits. This is another chart which I thought was an interesting one as well. This is essentially measuring how many customer deposits and how many people are basically on the pre-order thing. That is sort of leveling off. And so again, this is the same thing I was saying before. Tesla makes money. 100% they make money. Tesla makes money, but their growth rates are slowing. That's really important to understand. As a company matures, their growth rate slows. So this is where, you look at like a Ford or GM, and they're trading at P's of like crazy numbers, like in comparison, like 5, 7, maybe 12 even. And Tesla's trades in like in the 40s. So if this were to trade like a Ford or GM, it would fall considerably, right? From here, this is sort of why you've seen the stock go down. I think it's like down like 50%. At one point, it was down 70%. The eyes of like what's going forward, considering that Tesla is also a consumer stock and interest rates are going up, could spell a lot of trouble for Tesla and the team going forward. Now, I wanted to read some more details about this stuff, just so to reiterate sort of what's going on in terms of growth rate and stuff. And sort of I've mentioned to you before, but just look at the details for yourself. Tesla on Wednesday issued a vague outlook for 2023, saying it planned on 1.8 million vehicles for the year without specifying whether that was a production or delivery target. The company has been aiming to increase vehicle deliveries by an average of 50% annually. If the company were to deliver 1.8 million vehicles in 2023, that would mark roughly 37% growth from 2022 and come in well below Wall Street expectations, right? So even if they do that 1.8, which Tesla has mentioned, that's below their 50% annual thing that they keep, touting. So clearly the numbers here, you guys can see it for yourself. There's something off about Tesla's projections. And so like let's say they do that 37% growth. Again, that's like, it could be a delivery, it could be your production, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're making 37% in profit. So for me personally, I probably wouldn't pay over like a 20 or 30 PE for this thing because the numbers don't really make sense to pay more than that. And even if you want to, rate it like a GM or Ford, you should be even, going for lower PE than that. So this is I'm not just making random stuff up. And I have to keep saying that because I know Tesla pumpers, they just ignore all these kind of things. And again, you're talking about your margins going down. You're going down from the 30% margin in the past to maybe 17% now on the bearish case, to maybe even a 22%, something like that. More positive news for Tesla, though. Theoretically, their Cybertruck is coming out. I guess in the conference call, they said they will address it again in March. So they basically punt the football and not talk about it now. We'll see if this thing ever comes out. I think they're going to face stiff competition from Ford. That Lightning looks pretty good. And the Rivian. I'm not sure if Toyota's announced a electric vehicle truck. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking in my head. Not sure because I know the Toyota trucks I think that the Tacomas are pretty popular. I think GM has announced electric truck. You guys can talk about this as well. Who you think the leaders will be in the pickup truck? There was an interesting one is I guess they're building a factory. It's not Tesla's again. I show you positive and negative. We'll see if their semi stuff ends up being a thing. This is a Tesla semi. I guess they're building a new factory. I remember they delivered to Pepsi before a few trucks. And the big issue with this one has been, and we've talked about this in comments, is Tesla's always been a little bit shady in terms of talking about like what their battery capacities are, what the weights are of these things. This is a little bit shady on the numbers, and I've looked at different diagrams and this stuff, and I'm sure you can find more info on that. But I'm just saying this is a future thing, but it may or may not ever develop as being like a major thing for Tesla. I mentioned this before in the previous video. Elon Musk is trying to get more money for Twitter, and so this may or may not continue to weigh on Tesla stock. So Elon has said he has decided not to sell more shares, but he's lied about that in the past. I'm not just making it up. He said in the past he's not selling, and then he has sold. So you can make up your own mind on that. And I just think actions speak louder than words. You're also dealing with Musk on trial as well. This is sort of mentioning his extracurricular stuff. This is regarding the tweet before where he said funding secured, whether or not he's going to take Tesla private. And you're also dealing with lawsuits regarding FSD. So, it's a mixed bag with Tesla. Again, I'll repeat over and over again. Yes, they do make money. 100%. Tesla makes money. The problem is their growth rates are slowing, and it's always been valued too high. And so you got to decide for yourself, will Tesla continue to be a meme stock? If so, numbers maybe don't matter, but I do think numbers do matter. And I think going into the environment that we're in with rising interest rates, it'll slow down their demand. Plus you also have competition coming. So yes, Tesla makes money, but they don't offer dividend. And, if you want to get in this thing, I would just say, get it at a fair price. That's all I have to say about that. I think that's a fair thing to say. So everyone, I hope this is useful and helpful for you. Love to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video.